Fort Worth, and in a short 20-minute flight, Air Force One lands at Love Field in Dallas at 11:40 a.m. So after a very short 20-minute flight, Air Force One lands at Love Field in Dallas at 11:40. Now, when the plane comes up, they have this big mobile staircase. It's kind of on wheels, and they push it up to the plane, and the door opens up, and people walk down. Also flying with President Kennedy and Jackie were Governor Connolly and his wife Nellie. Okay, his wife Nellie. And what they did is the couples got to the bottom of the staircase, and you know, again, we're getting off cuff a little bit. I just want you to look, though, where Dallas Mayor Earl Cabell, and now you don't have to write this down because it's not on your ID sheet, Dallas Mayor Earl Cabell and his wife Deary presented both women with a dozen roses. Jackie's were red, Mrs. Connolly's were yellow. And they were given to them by the mayor and his wife. And the reason I mention the roses is because when we get to the assassination, what's that car going to be full of as everybody gets out of limousine at Parkland Hospital? Red and yellow roses scattered everywhere. Okay? So I mentioned that. Well, picture me getting down the staircase, and I am to walk, the President and Mrs. Kennedy are to walk directly to the refrigerator there, to the presidential limousine which had been flown in, because that's the safest route for the Secret Service. That isn't what Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy did. They were there to politics, so instead of walking the straight line from the staircase, they turned and walked along the fence line, just like in this room, all the way down this fence line, made a turn and all the way down the fence line, shaking the hands of as many people as they could who had swarmed the airport to see their arrival. Hundreds of people smashed up against the fences. The President, the First Lady, disobey Secret Service protocol and walk and touch the fence, or excuse me, walk along the fence and touch the hands of as many people as they can. Now, can you imagine if you were one of those people who touched the President's hand, or shook his hand, or Mrs. Kennedy, when you found the news out less than an hour later? Can you imagine how that would be ingrained in your mind? What's that? Well, yeah, but I'll tell you, I was talking to Dr. Cottrell. There's a guy that lives in Lovell that was standing in the corner of Houston and Elm when the President was shot. He still lives there. Still has that ingrained in his memory. He's going to try to get him to come here. We'll see. He doesn't like to talk about it. Anyway, we'll move on. So, instead of going to the presidential limousine, Jackie and the President kind of sneak off towards the fence of crowded people who are waving and cheering, and for nearly 5 minutes they work the fence and eventually get themselves seated into the presidential limousine. Now, we're going to end with this here, take us just about perfect. Everybody, conspiracy theorists, talk about the bubble top was off the limousine. That was not unusual. Early in the morning it had rained, and arrangements were made that they probably would have the bubble top on. But the rain cleared, the sun came out, and by the time they got to Love Field, it was a beautiful day. So the President made sure the limousine had the bubble top off. He wanted the people to see him, and especially wanted the people to see Jackie. So he did that. Okay? Now, this is one of the reasons why presidential protection for the President that day in Dallas is going to be very, very difficult. So reason number one why it's going to be hard is President Kennedy insisted on riding in an open convertible during the motorcade route so he could be better seen by the public. Do you think the Secret Service would have rather left it on? They absolutely would have. But he never had it on. You can see very few pictures. And he did lots of motorcades where he ever had the top up. He always had it on. He wanted the people to be able to see him, and his wife when she went. So that was not uncommon, but it will be a reason why it will be difficult to protect them that day. The second reason why it's going to be so difficult to protect them is the immense crowds, not only at the airport along that fence, but during the entire 11-mile route, especially when they get into the heart of downtown. And you'll see video of this. It's amazing how many people were down there. And that was going to be a problem for the Secret Service. When you have that many people, the president is a wide open target. There's no way. They had people hanging out of windows, that had climbed up on light poles, got on statues. Any way they could get a look at this guy. There was no possible way that the Secret Service could protect this guy. No way. Okay? So there's the second reason. The vast crowds made it very difficult. Kennedy was a wide open target. Now, how might you protect him, though, if the bubble top is off and you got large crowds? What might you do as a Secret Service? Well, kind of. You'd never get, I think I know what you mean. You'd never get in the vehicle in the seat, but they had ledges or bumpers, so to speak, that were made so the agents could ride on the front. They had, had a great big long, but they could have rode the whole side if they wanted to. But Kennedy insisted they stay back. He did not want any indication that they were afraid of the people of Dallas, because that was a concern of his aides. So the third reason why it'd be difficult is Secret Service agents who would normally surround the presidential limousine were pulled back so people could see the president better. Now, I want to explain to you, and this is what we're going to quit with on today, and we'll start with the presidential limousine tomorrow, is that a motorcade is an extremely long thing, kiddos. This isn't just the president's car. So I'm not going to give you the exactly how it was, but I'm going to point it out. You got a lead car. You got the presidential limousine. You got a Secret Service vehicle. You got Vice President Lyndon Johnson, his wife, and Ralph Yarborough, which Kennedy staged to be in the same car. And then you've got members of the cabinet, aides, the media, big buses, Greyhound buses full of media. Everybody's covering this thing. This thing was very long, okay? This is what we most concentrate ourselves with. The lead car, the presidential limousine, and the Secret Service car when the assassination occurs, because they're going to take a sharp turn onto Elm Street, we'll talk about this tomorrow, in which when the assassination occurs, these are the only three vehicles on that street at the time. People forget that the motorcade went forever. A lot more people in motorcade. And we'll explain that more to you tomorrow. What we'll do tomorrow is we'll tell you who's in the lead car, who's in the presidential limousine, where they're at, talk a little bit about the Secret Service car, and move on from there. It's the start of an interesting story.